What's up, everybody? It's the Power Rankings Podcast, aka the Power Rankings Show. I'm your host, Elliot Harrison, and I am pleased to be joined with the recovering Marcus Mosher, who looks tan despite being sick all day in bed. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, tired, but ready to talk about some football. It's been a few days since we've talked, Elliot. This is rare, so I'm sure you've got lots of hot sports opinions that you want to get off your chest.
Fresh out of the oven. But now that you sound okay with me, I can say that I'm really pleased to be joined by @Marcus_Mosher. You can find him on Twitter at that handle. And you're probably going to see less tweets than normal. No cut-up tape of some backup linebacker that played for the Cowboys in 2008. Go ahead. Tell me who was a backup linebacker for the Cowboys in 2008.
Zach Thomas?
I think he was 07. I think I got you on that one.
Okay.
With Keith Brooking?
Yeah, but
Keith Brooking was like 09.
Yeah.
I've got to. We'll have to spend more time on that another time. We'll just go with Darren. We'll just go with Darren Hambrick and
there you go. Forever.
03.
Yep.
Yeah, forever. Darren Hambrick forever. Right. So we've got a different show today. We got a little bit of news just to throw out the top. We'll get to that in just a second. What we're going to be doing today is a little different. The odds were released on each team's win total for the 2022 season. Now, it's a little early in the sense that we haven't even had the draft yet, and we don't know how the schedule plays out. We do know every team's home and away opponents. The NFL schedule is formulaic. You play one NFC division and you play one AFC division, and then based on where you finished, you're going to play teams from the other divisions that finished at the same spot. So that's about the easiest way that I can explain it. It's on a rotation. So, for example, the NFC East plays the AFC South every 4 years, including this one. And so that's one way to look at it. NFC East plays the NFC North this year. And that rotation, since they're in the same conference, is every 3 years. So that's how the schedule kind of works anyway. Is that a simplest way to put it, I guess, Marcus? Yeah. And so Marcus has already looked at the odds. We're going to go through all the teams. He's going to tell me the odds, and I'm going to naturally react. I've only heard one. He gave me one team sample odds, and we talked about that team. I bet you can guess what team it was. But before we get to that, real quick, Marcus, what were your thoughts? Well, I guess all you did yesterday was take NyQuil, go to the bathroom, crawl back in bed. When you read about the overtime rules this morning, the tweak, what was your thought?
Great. Seems like common sense to me. I mean, I thought it was unfair last year that the Bills didn't get a chance to respond after the Chiefs won the opening coin toss. I like that it's not a regular season change where we still have the regular overtime rules in the regular season. But I was actually telling you pre-show, I kind of wish we just get rid of overtime in the regular season, just have ties. And then in the playoffs, we have the new overtime rules, and let's just go with that.
Yeah, I guess I should say what the change was before I asked you to comment on it. Bad job, host. Basically, what the NFL decided to do, they tried to, I think it was the Colts, and I can't remember if it was the Eagles, proposed the idea of changing the rules for regular season so that both teams get a possession. They didn't have enough votes for that. So when they went to postseason only, the owners approved it. I think it was 29-3. That means 29-4, 3 in opposition from the 32 owners, that they would give teams equal chance to possess the ball in playoff games only. And of course, that would include the Super Bowl. So after each team has the ball, if the first team scores a touchdown and now the second team has a chance to score a touchdown and match, but it's going to be sudden death after that. Personally, I kind of just wish they'd play a 10-minute quarter. Just play a 10-minute quarter. The overtime is already a 10-minute quarter as is. If you're worried about guys getting hurt or, more strain on their body, it's not a 15-minute quarter. And most of the time, it seems like these overtime games go pretty deep into that 10-minute quarter anyway. Kansas City, Buffalo being an exception. But Marcus, if you think about it, a lot of times the first drive of overtime, if it ends up in a touchdown, is a 5-minute drive anyway. So what difference does it make if you just play 10 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know if it makes a huge difference. I do think the NFL likes games ending with like a kick or a touchdown or something like that, rather than just a team trying to waste clock, and running out the ball. I think that's a little bit more of an exciting finish, but I'm not opposed to it.
That's fair. That's fair. I was trying to think of just what's fair. That's the rules of the game, right? We play a 60-minute game, 4 15-minute quarters. In case you're just now joining the podcast and the NFL fandom, we play 4 quarters at 15 minutes. Now, here's what you do. I'm kidding. So we're going to go, instead of going 4 quarters deep, we're about to go really deep here, over 30 teams. We've got 32 teams, odds to go through. So basically it's an over-under, really.
That's all it is.
What you think their win-loss total is going to be, but this is based on really the win total. So ties aren't going to play a role here. Marcus, the first team up, it looks like you got Houston Texans on our little rundown that we're using. So give it to me. I'm organically reacting. I have no idea. I have an idea in mind, though, for Houston.
I should also set this up. We're going to be going from the fewest win totals to the most. And we're going to pick out a couple of these that are our favorites. And we're going to tell you whether you should bet over or under. So let's start with the Texans, who have the lowest win total at 4.5. Does that seem really low to you, Elliot?
No, it seems about right on. So I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole.
They did win 4 games last year. I think that roster is going to be much better, but yeah, I would stay away, especially in a super competitive AFC.
I think what they've got going for them, though, is they are playing the NFC East, which I still don't think the NFC East is very strong. So granted, we don't know what time of year and all that kind of stuff, but
they can go through into that division, right?
Yeah. On the other hand, they're playing the AFC West, so we'll take a big fat 0-4 right there. So there you go.
All right, next one, Atlanta Falcons, 5.
Oh boy. Atlanta's got a new quarterback in Marcus Mariota. That's kind of the big deal. They don't have that strong a competition with Carolina, but I think the Saints are going to be better. I think the Bucks are going to be better. Marcus is another one that I feel like it's pretty close on. Maybe they win 6, but is it enough of a difference for you to say, oh man, I'm laying my money down that Atlanta's going to win more than 5?
No, how are your hamstrings feeling right now? Because I know you used to be pretty fast, because they might need you to play receiver. Their wide receiver depth chart is rough right now.
My hamstrings are fine. The hips, though, not as great. So there we go. I think my days as a Falcon slot receiver would last about. You know what I could give you? I could give you some red zone snaps. I could definitely give you some red zone snaps. So there you go.
All right, next one. New York Jets, 5.5. And admittedly, I think this is a little low. I think the Jets are better than that 5.5 total.
There's this kind of predisposition to think, how are the Jets going to mess it up all the time, right? They play the AFC North and they play the NFC North. Okay, the NFC North is, in my opinion, not very strong. Yes, the Lions should be better, but I don't think the Packers are going to be any better than they were last year. And then they're also playing the AFC.
They almost beat the Packers last year, right? They were very close to beating the Packers with that scrub team they had last year.
Yeah, scrub team. That was.
Nice. It was.
Also on this one, I would say they're playing the AFC North, and depending when they play those teams, if they play, say, Cleveland and Pittsburgh early in the year, perhaps their quarterback situation hasn't quite, Deshaun Watson may not be playing that great yet. Mitch Trubisky, it's going to be early season. I could see them sneaking a win. Late season, not as much. I'm kind of with you. I could see them winning 6 games. But again, do you want to lay your money on the Jets over? That's the question. And my answer to that would be no.
It probably depends on what they do in the draft. And I think there's some good value now before the draft, because if they nail picks 4 and 10, they also have 2 second-round picks, and they get some exciting offensive weapons in there, or, great pass rusher. I think we'll see that move up to 6, maybe even 6.5. So, yeah, I think there's some value there. Let's come back to that one a little bit.
2 contingent was on Zach Wilson too for me, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I think that's why I like it, right? Because last year their quarterback situation wasn't great, and they still were able to win. Was it 5 games or so last year?
Well, he appreciates your support.
That's all right. Mike White had a great game. Detroit Lions, moving on to them, 5.5, or excuse me, 6 for the Lions. 6.
They know what they're doing here. because they know most of us think the Lions are going to be better. The question is, are they going to be better than 6-11? They play the AFC East and they play the NFC East, which actually I think works in their favor. I think they can compete with the AFC East teams. The Patriots are not what they once were, although the Patriots are still a good team. Buffalo's really the only team you have to be super fearful of. I don't think they have to be fearful of any of the NFC East teams. So I would be inclined to take the over on this. I think you can go with 7 or 8 for these guys.
Yeah, I still think they're a year away from getting 7 or 8 wins. The quarterbacks in the division are still pretty good with Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and Justin Fields. They played in a lot of close games last year, I know, but are they going to be able to pull those games out?
They're playing a last place schedule, No.
7 wins just seems like a lot. 6 feels like the right number. I probably would stay away.
I didn't say I was betting my money on it. I'm not taking the under on it. How about that? There's no way. If you want to bet on the Lions, don't take the under. It's either going to be even or above.
I agree. All right. Carolina Panthers at 6.
I mean, do you have a good feel for this team? Because I don't. I know you think they're going to suck. And I have to say, I would be leaning more the under on this team because I don't want to say it's a team in disarray, but I don't quite know what the plan is. That's why I say if there's one team on our list that the draft will really illuminate a lot of things, I think it's this one. They really need a healthy Christian McCaffrey, though, Marcus. And I don't know that they're going to have that for a full schedule with the personnel they have right now.
They have 1 pick in the first 4 rounds of this draft. And if they don't draft a quarterback, that means Sam Darnold needs to win 7 or more games for the over to hit. I think this is an easy under for me.
Easy under, okay.
Yeah, I mean, even if they go 6-10 or 6-11, I hate this new schedule. It's going to be a push, right?
You're always having to do math, huh? That's the problem.
I mean,
it's like 6-10. No, 6-11.
You look at their away opponents this year, and it's the Saints, the Bucks, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Rams, the Giants, the Seahawks, the Falcons. Sure, they might win 2 of those games against the Giants and Falcons. I mean, but that is a really rough road schedule.
I think you make a fair point. I would definitely lean under on these guys. I'm just telling you, if there's one organization I really don't have a feel for what the plan is, it's this one. Or the head coaching situation. Honestly, I mean, is this the biggest hot seat in the league right now?
It's got to be, right? Back-to-back 5-win seasons. They haven't.
All right, I'm getting depressed.
I know. Let's move on.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
Let's Panthers. Let's go to something really illuminating, like the Jags.
6.5.
You know what? You may think I'm crazy, but I would lean over on this one before I'd go under. But I actually think that's a really good job by Vegas. A really good job. If you had asked me to guess this one, I would have given you 6.5.
Yeah, that's why it's probably a stay away. I think you're going to see a much better Trevor Lawrence this year. I think you're going to see a much better offensive line. I think Doug Peterson is at the very least, a good coach. But still, that roster is a ways away. That's why I would hesitate to go the over here.
Can I give you 3 words to describe this one?
Sure.
Addition by subtraction. That's what this team is all about. And I think you know who I'm referring to.
Not a big Carlos Hyde fan, huh?
Yeah, not Carlos Hyde. Let's just say I'll take Doug Peterson all day over his predecessor.
I agree. Next one. This one I think is really, really easy for me. The Seattle Seahawks at 6.5 wins.
Well, you don't really like what they've done at all.
How could you? What do you like about what they did?
They're in a really tough division, as we've discussed. I would lean 5 or 6 wins for this team. If you're going to bet on the Seahawks, I say you take the under. I could see someone wanting to take the over. They tend to play well at home. Pete Carroll has had a very good tenure, but I would lean the under on this.
How many of these road games are they going to win? Cardinals, Rams, 49ers, Lions, Chiefs, Chargers, Saints, Bucks.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing they have going for them is they are playing the NFC South, which means they're playing the Falcons and the Panthers. They could potentially win those 2 games, but they're playing the AFC West. They're playing a Saints team that I think is going to be better. I told you I like Jameis Winston coming back there in Tampa. So if they get those 2 wins over the Falcons and they get the Panthers, where are they going to get 5 more wins to get the over? I don't see it.
I like the under a lot there for Seattle. Moving on, Chicago Bears. I think a lot of people think Justin Fields is going to take a step up this year, but their win total is at 7. Too high?
Actually, I think that is right on the money. I think that is about what these guys are going to be. I think again, this is a team I would lean the over if I had to, because I like the head coaching hire. Justin Fields is a little bit of an X factor for me. I'm not sure what to make of Justin Fields just yet. We saw potential against Pittsburgh, for example, that Monday night game. Mm-hmm. Marcus, this is another team I really want to see what happens in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a first-round pick because of the Justin Fields trade, but I just don't like this roster very much. They lost Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, and Khalil Mack all in the same offseason. They lost James Daniels, their best offensive lineman. They lost Allen Robinson, and they haven't really replaced any of those guys. I think you're going to see Fields be a better quarterback this year, but that roster is just not very good. I think I would go under.
They're also playing the NFC East, which again, could I see the Bears winning 3 out of 4 in the NFC East? I could. Sure. I don't see any strength there. The Bears always play their division opponents really tough. That's why I think 7-10 sounds about right. I think Vegas did its job again, just like on the Jags. I think they did their job on this one as well.
All right, let's move on to the next one. New York Giants sitting at 7 wins. That would be the most that they've had since, I believe, 2016. Does that feel like too many?
It doesn't feel like too many to me. I would lean the under here. I would lean that way. So the NFC East is playing the AFC South and they're playing the NFC North. That's a pretty favorable schedule in terms of the divisions they're playing. That's my worry. And also, we've seen bad Daniel Jones and not as much good, but I have seen some good Daniel Jones in the past, which tells me that there is a ceiling there that could be higher under Brian Daboll. So yeah, I think they can get to 7 wins. Would I want to bet my money on them getting to 8 or 9? I wouldn't.
That's why I like the under so much, because if they go 7-10, you still push. I just don't see this team going 8-9 or 9-8 this year. Not in the first year of the rebuild. I think they can be better. I think they can be more competitive, but they still have a lot of holes. I like the under here, Elliot.
I like your Seattle, Carolina under argument better. Boy, you are being a negative Nancy.
No, we'll
oh yeah, you are. Yeah, you're venturing into curmudgeon-y Carl. That's typically been my real estate, but
luckily we've got a nice one here for us. The New Orleans Saints at 7.5, and I love the over here.
Oh, come on! What do you think I'm going to say?
You like the under here?
You're kidding. Yeah, slap yourself. You know what? Just do it. Just do it right now. You know what? Speaking of, I didn't even get a chance to ask you what you thought of the Will Smith. Is this an appropriate time? Oh my gosh.
No.
I love the Saints here. I would take this all day. So we've done 10 teams so far. We've done 32 through 23. I would say this is my favorite one yet. Although if we're talking under, I do love the Carolina, but not as much as this. Not anywhere near as much as this.
Yeah, their defense is still really good, right? Dennis Allen's the head coach there now. The defense is going to keep them in so many of these games. And they won 9 games last year with Jameis Winston missing a lot of the season, Taysom Hill being banged up, having to start your guy, Trevor Siemian, at quarterback a couple of games. Ian Book started a game for them. I think 8-9 wins feels pretty likely because the defense is going to win 6 or 7 by themselves.
Did we see, or did you see that Trevor Siemian did get signed?
I did.
Yeah. No, you didn't.
I did. Next one, Steelers, 7.5.
Oh, this is a good one. With Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, I think it depends a little bit on how you feel about that signing. You and I both like that signing. I think it does mitigate some of their weaknesses. I would not be inclined to take the under on this one. I'd be more inclined to take the over, but this would be another one that I think Vegas did a pretty good job. But I'm definitely leaning over, Marcus. If you want to bet on the Steelers, bet the over. I don't think they're going to go 7-10. I just don't.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. And the Steelers have not had a losing season since 2003.
Look who just used his least favorite stat in pro football.
I know. But this is important when we're talking about win totals, right?
The Steelers hate that Mike Tomlin stat.
I do it because it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good coach. It just means that you're not a bad one. right?
Okay.
I think the Steelers are going to be right around 8 wins, kind of like they were last year. I think they went 9-6-1 last year. Defense should be healthier, should be better. But the quarterback is going to hold them back from being probably a playoff team. So 7, 8, 9 wins feels about right.
Well, that would be the over, my friend. That would be the over.
I don't want to bet the over, though, because then you're betting on Mitch Trubisky, and I don't know if that's a good thing.
Translated, you don't want to bet the over because it's no fun.
No, I will. I'm going to bet the over on this. Don't you worry.
Because you win either way. Because what happens is if they get the over, you make money. If they get the under, you're really happy because they stink, and that's what you want. So yes, that's like the perfect outcome for you. You should do that.
I already did. Next one, the Washington Commanders had 7.5.
Oh man. Like I said, I don't really trust the NFC East here. I know they have Carson Wentz. Could they get to 8 wins? I think a lot depends on how does Chase Young come back?
I agree.
What does he look like? What do they do in the draft? To me, Marcus, this is one I walk away from. There are too many unknowns with them, starting with their best player coming off a major injury. Could I see them getting to 8 wins? Yes. Could I also see them going 6-11 and kind of floundering? I can. I think this is probably the right spot to have their win total. I walk away.
Which team do you feel more confident in getting 8 or more wins, the Giants or the Commanders?
Giants.
See, I think I would go Washington here. I think I like their defense better. I like their skill positions better. And if Carson Wentz can just be competent, which we've seen before, we saw it at points last year, I think they could get to 8 wins.
Can I give you a caveat on that?
Sure.
Can I give you a little caveat? If the Giants get the draft right, because I really like the Giants coaching hire, which I told you I liked. And I do think Daniel Jones has potential. I mean, so does Carson Wentz. He just makes some, big errors. But can Carson Wentz win 8 or 9 games? Yeah, I guess it's just one that I would not have any confidence putting my money on. We talk about that all the time. Walk away.
Stay away. Next one, New England Patriots, 8.5.
Okay, I would have thought this would have been 9.5. I'll take the over on that. I'm going to put my trust in Bill Belichick that he's not going to go 8-9. I know the division's a little bit stronger, but I'm going to go the over.
Even though they lost J.C. Jackson, you're still good with the over?
Yeah, well, okay, but we have to consider something. Mac Jones played the entire season, and he looked pretty good. He looked smart with the football. He's the kind of player that definitely learns from his mistakes. I do wonder about Josh McDaniels leaving. Do I want to spend my money betting on the Patriots not winning? I don't. So if I'm inclined to bet one way or the other, I'm definitely going to take the over.
Yeah, and I don't think their schedule's all that hard. Some of their games at home, obviously Buffalo, Miami, Jets, Ravens, Chicago Bears, Bengals, Lions, Colts. They can win 5 or 6 of those at least, right? And then can they go on the road and beat the Jets and the Cardinals and the Browns and the Vikings and the Raiders and the Steelers? Absolutely. Like I like this one. I think I actually wouldn't have been shocked if that total was at 10. I think 8.5 is a great value here.
I think the key too with these AFC North matchups is something I talked about before, which is when are they getting the Browns? When are they getting the Steelers? See, we don't have that information yet. If they're getting them early in the year while they're still working out the kinks, they could steal 2 wins right there. And if they steal 2 wins against those guys, I think you're looking at a 10-win team. I'm inclined to take the over on this.
All right, let's write that one down. We like the Patriots over. Next one, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders. Your Las Vegas Raiders at 8.5 win.
I know they're in a really hard division. I get it. The AFC West is everyone's saying that the Raiders are going to be 3rd, but I got to be honest. I think 8.5 is too low. I think this team wins at least 9. I'd feel confident betting on the Raiders to do the over here.
Yeah. So they won 10 games last year. Right. And then the year before that, they were 8-8. And this roster is noticeably better than it was in either of those 2 seasons. I think they upgraded their coaching staff, not only with just Josh McDaniels, but Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, is really, really good. I think 9 to 10 wins feels about right. I think they'll probably go 3-3 or so in the division. Yeah, I'm good with the over, but I probably wouldn't bet a ton on that one just because that number is still pretty high.
In case you guys are wondering, the AFC West, the division the Raiders are in, they play the NFC West this year, which is going to be a little bit tough, and they play the AFC South, which is not as tough. So They've got some strong opponents, but they're not playing a first place schedule. And as you said, the roster is noticeably better. I think Chandler Jones can have a big year for them.
Oh,
I do.
agree. Next team with win total at 8.5 for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, this is one that was. This is just right. This is just right. This is another one I think Vegas did its job here because I think it's very difficult to make a case that Philadelphia wins less than 7 or more than 9. Okay. And so if I think they're at 7, 8, or 9, and this is where Vegas puts them right smack dab in the middle of that, I'd have a hard time laying my money on the Eagles either way, honestly.
I will tell you though, once the draft happens and the Eagles spend those 3 first-round picks, this is going to go up to 9 or 9.
It's going to move.
Yep. Just because people are going to be really excited. Once we actually attach names to those picks, people are going to look at that depth chart and be like, this is a really good team, top from bottom. I would be inclined to go over, Elliot.
Well, this is what I would say to people out there that would think about betting on something like this, that don't get sucked into draft hype. Because the Eagles took 3 wide receivers with high picks the last 3 years. And what did they get in return on that? They got one guy that could, yeah. And so you really have to look at the team. How have they done with their top picks? The Eagles have a lot of early picks, which is great. That also doesn't mean they're going to contribute right away. That's the other thing too. I think this was a really good line. I think the Eagles are a 500-ish team. Yeah, they might go 9 and 8, but is that a big enough disparity, Marcus, to lay your money down with confidence? I don't think so.
No, I don't disagree. Next one, and maybe the most shocking line for me, the Minnesota Vikings at 9 wins.
You think it's high, don't you?
I mean, it feels high, right? To win this bet, they have to go 10 and 7 or better.
Yeah, you're talking about a brand new head coach. I can't get a good read on how much confidence there is in Kirk Cousins. People say the right things, but it just doesn't. It's been hard to have confidence in this team. I know they've had other mitigating circumstances, including not having some of their best players available to them. They play the AFC East and they play the NFC East, which I actually think is good, but I would not be inclined to take the over. If anything, I would take the under or walk away from this one.
Yeah, I actually think a better way to bet this is to bet on them to make the playoffs, which is the odds are quite a bit better because if they win 10 games, they're making the playoffs, right? In the NFC, there's absolutely no doubt. I think that's the better way to bet this one. But if you force me to pick, I actually would say under, I believe. I feel like 9's probably the right number for them.
Yeah, I would take the under or walk away.
Okay. Next team that's at 9, the Miami Dolphins.
Boy, this is one that I want to say over because I like their coaching hire a lot, but the quarterback situation still is what it is, Marcus. It is. We can't just magically make Tua a Pro Bowl level player. I'm not saying he's bad. I think somewhat similar to Daniel Jones, we've seen some good points and some not as good points. Now, granted, he hasn't been in the league as long. Maybe you think Tua is going to be better than Daniel Jones. That's fine, but. And I like the Chase Edmonds signing, but do you like it enough to see this team win 10 games? That's really the question.
Back-to-back seasons with a winning record, right?
Mm-hmm. Different coach, but the defense still should be really good. How much of an impact is Mike McDaniel going to have on Tua and the rest of the offense? My guess is they're still a year away from being a legitimate contender. But I don't think I could bet on them to be a 10-win team this year, especially not in that conference and that division. Still seems pretty high. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of their road games here. Okay, Bills, Patriots, obviously they're going to play them on the road. That's a division opponent, but they played the Bengals in Cincinnati. They played Baltimore with Lamar Jackson healthy, assuming, right? In Baltimore, they played the Chargers, who you and I are pretty high on, and they played the 49ers on the road, who I'm still high on the 49ers. So although they're, obviously they'll have some knowledge of what the 49ers are trying to do. 10 wins is a little steep for me.
Yeah, but I also don't think they're going to go like 8-9. I think they're going to be better than that. So it's probably a stay away. Man, we are not having very bold takes on some of these teams. But that's okay.
Well, I've got some that are earmarked here. I already
that's
know
okay.
A couple.
You don't need to bet on every team. Just find your 2 or 3 favorite ones. That's all we're doing right now. Next one. Arizona Cardinals at 9 wins.
Yeah, I was wondering if they would go 10 wins on this, because people seem to think that the Cardinals are really good. And people have come around a little bit on Cliff Kingsbury, although I'm not quite sure why. They still had the same kind of collapse at the end of the year. They're playing the AFC West and they're playing the NFC South, which means that they're playing 6 really good teams, okay, outside of their own division, which already has the Rams and the 49ers in it. I don't want to bet the under on them. I'll tell you that, but I would be a little concerned about just automatically assuming this team is going to win 10.
Yeah, I would say slight over. I think 10-7 is probably their record this year. They might be a better team than they were last year, and the record might not reflect that because the division's so good. Their opponents are pretty tough. I think 10 wins feels right. Let's move on to the Titans, the number 1 seeded Tennessee Titans from last year. 9.5 wins, and I gotta admit that seems really low to me.
I was going to just say I'm easily over on this one. Big reason, I could see them sweeping the NFC East. That's the NFC division that they play this year. If they go 4-0 against the East, then they're going to get over that win total. Look, I think the Jags are going to be better. We'll see how the Colts do with Matt Ryan. I think it's going to be good for the Colts, but you never know. You never know when a quarterback at that age is going to hit the wall. And are you worried about the Texans? I know the Titans lost to the Texans last year, but this seems really low. This would be my absolutely lay it down on Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mike Vrabel has won at least 9 games in all 4 of his seasons as a coach. Last 2 years, 11 and 12 wins. I think the defense could potentially be better, getting some guys back on that side of the ball. Derrick Henry is going to be healthy. That'll help. Plus AJ Brown actually healthy going into the season. I think that's going to help as well. I would go over here. They're just a really good team. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl caliber team, but they're just a really good team that's going to get 10, 11 wins.
I'm with you.
Okay, let's move on to the Colts. Same win total, 9.5, same division.
I was wondering if they were going to be positive Perry and go a little bit higher with the Matt Ryan signing. The Colts aren't playing quite as tough a schedule as the Titans. They didn't win the division. Just like the Titans, though, they're playing the NFC East, but they're also playing the AFC West. I think this is one where Vegas did its job. I don't feel as confident as I do with Tennessee. I think I would walk away from this one.
Yeah, I would walk away as well. I like the Matt Ryan trade for them. I think it gives them an adult in the quarterback room. Yeah. But I think 9 to 10 wins is probably the right number, and wouldn't surprise me if that means they're the first team out of the playoffs in the AFC. Right? It's going to be such a tough division or conference this year. All right. Next one, Baltimore Ravens, 9.5.
Golly, they love 9.5, don't they?
This one's my favorite bet on the board right now. I'm going over.
Of course you are.
I'm in on Ravens culture.
You're in again. Obviously, Lamar is a big factor here, but that's not the only thing they did. They did do some things in free agency. My only concern is here, Marcus, is that division is a little bit better. The Browns are a little bit better. I think Pittsburgh is actually going to be better with Mitch Trubisky, at least offensively, as weird as that is to say. I know that's not weird for you to say. And then you got Cincinnati. So this is not a big a slam dunk. Tell me why it's such a slam dunk for you.
Because they were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year before Lamar Jackson got hurt. And they ended up losing the 2 games against the Steelers because Tyler Huntley had to play, and they just kind of faded down the stretch. And I think they had the worst injury luck in the league between Lamar Jackson getting hurt, the running backs getting hurt early in the season, being decimated at cornerback with Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters getting hurt. They've got 9 draft picks in this class. I believe 6 inside of the top 115. They're not done in free agency either. It sounds like Bobby Wagner is almost a lock to go there. We always talk about the quarterback kicker combo, and there's maybe not one better in the league than Jackson and Justin Tucker. I'm in on Ravens culture. I think they win 10, 11 games this season.
So looking at their schedule here, I think they can easily win at least 2 of the games against the NFC South, against Atlanta and Carolina. I think they can win 3 out of 4 against the AFC East. That would put them at 5-3 in those games. They play a kind of the random game one of the random games they play is the Jaguars. They can win that game. So I would be more inclined to go the over with them. I'm just not as confident as you are about it.
I just think between the coach, the quarterback, the kicker, the veterans on defense, I just think they're going to be really good. They also lost Ronnie Stanley last year. Getting him back, that'll help a lot.
Yeah, and when they're 1-3 and you tell me they're out on their culture, I'll just smile.
Yeah, just knowingly
smile. Yeah.
All right, the next one, and this one's tricky because they're actually not on the board, but it's the Cleveland Browns. I've seen some projections for them at like 9.5, 10, but because there's still the Deshaun Watson possible suspension out there, you can't bet on it this year. But let me ask you this: where would you set this line?
Well, I think you said it best. I mean, there's just, you don't have to bet on everything, and so this is one that you really, I think you walk away from. But saying that, I think 9 wins is right. A 9.5 feels a little bit high to me just because of the unknown. I think 9 is where I would have it. I could even go under that. There's huge expectations, and this franchise, let's be honest, has not always lived up to those expectations. But either way, my advice here is there are plenty other good options here to lay your money on, unless you're just dying to bet on Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this no matter what the line comes out. It's just too much turnover here in 1 year, too much.
Would you set it at 10?
If I was an odds maker, yeah, because I know people are going to be excited about the Browns and they're going to want to bet the over.
Okay. So you just be trying to make money. Way to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like to do. All right, Denver Broncos, 10 wins.
So I'm going to take the under on that.
All day.
I get the excitement. I think they did some nice things. Obviously Russell Wilson was the headliner there, but this is a really tough division. And I need to see more. They got a brand new head coach, a brand new quarterback. This is not a team that they haven't even been to the postseason, Marcus, since they won the Super Bowl. No way. I'm under on this.
Yeah, same. I think losing Vic Fangio on defense is going to have a big impact, because you look at that roster, secondary, outstanding. Front seven, I still have some question marks about. Like,
it's a big meh, isn't it? Just meh.
Yeah, I mean, and I love Randy Gregory, but he's now dealing with a shoulder surgery. Bradley Chubb is coming in off an injury. I don't love the linebackers there. I'm just staying away, or I'm betting the under here. Speaking of the AFC West, what about the Chargers? Their total is 10, same as the Broncos.
Yeah. By the way, I just looked at the Broncos road games. They've got some really tough road assignments, man. Titans and Ravens outside of just their division. Also playing the Rams on the road. Give me a break. Sorry. Go ahead. I just was looking at that. The Chargers.
10.
You know what I'm going to say.
You want the over here?
I do. I think that's kind of high. I mean, I think it's kind of higher than I thought it would be. But I think they're going to go 11-6.
Let's say 11-6 is what you need to win. Yeah, 11-6 is what you need to win the bet. 10 feels like the right number. 11 feels likely, but it's probably a stay away, because I think you want a little bit more wiggle room than 10 or 11 wins.
Which is something we talk about all the time when we do over-unders of scores. If you're within a point of what Vegas is saying the over-under is, don't bet on it. If you think it's going to be 5 points difference, bet on it. Here, I think the Chargers are more likely to win 11 than 8 or 9.
I agree with you.
But it's only one win over what it's set at. So I think walking away is good. But if you had to lay your money on it, would you go over?
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Cincinnati Bengals, also at 10 wins.
I think coming back down to earth is a real possibility. This division is going to be stronger. Some of this, I mean, when do they play the Browns? What point in the season? Is it during suspension? Because my guess is the Bengals are going to be right around this. Now, I would be more inclined, Marcus, to take the over on this because they fixed the offensive line than the under. But, like I said, that division is not getting any easier right now. We don't know when they're playing the Browns, and that makes a difference to me. And Lamar Jackson being healthy makes a difference to me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Ravens a lot this year. So if I'm betting the Ravens over 9.5 wins, I don't know if I could also bet the Bengals over 10 wins.
Yeah, it's steep.
I think those two teams are going to combine for like 21 wins. And I'm just not quite sure how it's going to get all solved out. But I would probably stay away from this one as well.
I would not take the under though. This is another one. If you're going to do it, go over, but I would walk away as well.
I agree with you. All right. Next one, San Francisco 49ers, 10 wins, despite not really knowing what's going on at quarterback right now.
Which I think is what makes this, unfortunately, another walkaway team. But if I had to lay my money down, I would take the over. I would not take the under on this. But this is a consummate walkaway team because of that. They've had a loss on the coaching staff, major loss for the second year in a row. We don't know who they're playing at quarterback, but I know they're a really well-coached, good football team.
I agree.
I think you got to walk away from this one.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add there. I think that seems very likely to me that they're 10 wins. They're going to be up and down week to week because of the quarterback situation, but I agree with everything you said. All right, Dallas Cowboys, 10.5. Feels a tick high to me, Ellie. Yeah. I think I would bet the under here.
I'd bet the under on this. 10-7. Can I see the Cowboys going 10-7 with their schedule? I can. They're playing the NFC North and AFC South, and I guarantee you that's what the odds makers were looking at when they set this, because they can't be that encouraged by what the Cowboys did so far in the offseason.
No.
In terms of the draft, we'll see how they do. Cowboys have a relatively good recent draft track record, I would say. They've got a lot of guys that they drafted still making contributions to the team. Maybe it's not great, but I'd be inclined to take the under.
Yeah, so do I. I think 10-6 is probably the return of 10-7. Man, that's going to take me a year to get this. 10-7 feels about right. They've got questions on their offensive line. They got to replace Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup coming off the ACL injury. I think they're going to be a really good but not great team, and that's probably 10 wins. All right, next one, Los Angeles Rams at 10.5 wins.
Oh, boy. I'm going to take the over on that.
Yeah,
I'm going to take the over on that. I have to remind all you guys out there, Marcus knows what these all are. I'm hearing these all for the first time. So I'm just trying to, I'm giving you my most organic kind of reaction to this. And as soon as you said, I thought 12 wins before you even said what it was. And so that tells me that's a 1.5 difference right there. Can you see any reason this team would not win 11 games this year?
They're still really top heavy as a roster, right? Like basically their entire cap is dedicated to like 8 or 9 players on this team. Mm-hmm. So if they happen to have a couple injuries at the wrong spots, I don't know if they can bounce back as well as other teams can, but you have Matt Stafford going into year 2. You've got Allen Robinson on the outside to help with Cooper Kupp. They've got, a pretty good offensive line. The defense should be really good again. I would go over. I don't think 12, 13 wins is out of the possibility at all.
Could you see them getting an off-the-ball linebacker in the draft just to kind of fortify that group to win now?
Sure.
Yeah, I could. Okay. Taking the over.
All right. Next one. Green Bay Packers at 11.
That's steep. I'm not taking the Packers over 11. I don't want to take them under either. I'm walking away from this one. Walking away. See ya.
Yeah, it's probably the smart move. Although they won 13 games, 3 straight seasons. You got to believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to keep them super competitive, even without Devontae Adams.
Does he play at the same level, though, Marcus? The same level? Because he's going to have to. For them to win over 11, you're talking about going 12-5. This division's not weaker than it was last year.
I think I would take the over. I think I would be, because for me to lose this bet, they have to go 10-7, and I just don't see them going 10-7.
I don't see them going 10-7. So yeah, I get your point. Like you'd have to lose, or that would be the way you would lose. But I just feel like this is exactly what I would predict for them, and because it's exactly on the nose of what I would predict for them, I like a lot of other teams we've discussed better.
Okay. Next one, the Kansas City Chiefs at 11.
Interesting, because they lost Tyreek Hill, and their division is so much harder now. This is another one I feel like's right on the nose. I don't know that I could bet the over on this that easily, Marcus. There are other teams I like a lot more.
So since 2015, they've won at least double-digit games in every single season. They've won 12 or more games in 4 straight seasons. Again, to lose this bet, they would have to go 10-7. Do you see an Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes team going 10-7?
I don't. What I'm looking for here though are really strong bets, not bets of like, well, at least I won't lose my money. Yeah, if you just want to have some fun, bet on the Chiefs over here. I'm fine with that. If you would just want to have some fun, bet on the Packers over. But if you're asking me between like the Rams, Packers, and Chiefs, you want to make money. Who do you feel the most confident about? I'm
Rams.
taking the Rams over.
I agree with you. All right, let's move on to number 2. The Buffalo Bills, 11.5, and that seems high to me, Elliot.
Oh, golly.
Do you know why that seems high to me? Because the game against Jacksonville last year just keeps sticking in my mind. Like, how did that team look so bad in that game? And there were 3 or 4 of those games last year where Josh Allen just didn't show up. And that's still, it just sticks with me. Like, are we going to see those again this year where Buffalo just looks awful?
The problem here with the Bills is that they're playing the NFC North, which still isn't a strong division. They're playing the AFC North, which again, with the quarterback musical chairs, are they going to get the Browns, when they don't have Deshaun Watson? Are they going to get Pittsburgh when Mitch Trubisky is still trying to figure it out? They win those 2 games, and I could easily see them going over this, but that is high. I hate to say it. This is another one I'm walking away from. There's a lot more that I like better than this one.
All right. And our final one, Tampa Bay, 11.5. They have the best odds to win the Super Bowl right now, tied with the Buffalo Bills. Tampa Bay, 11.5 wins. What do you think?
I'll take the over. I think they're much more inclined to go 12-5, Marcus, than 10-7. I'm tired of being curmudgeon-y Carl telling you to walk away. Don't spend your money. I like Tampa's odds here better than Buffalo, Kansas City, or Green Bay. I don't like it as much as Los Angeles. But yeah, I'm down with this. Take the over.
How many road games do they lose this season? These are the road opponents: Falcons, Panthers, Saints, Cardinals, Browns, Cowboys, Steelers, 49ers. 2 at most?
Yeah. They go 6-2 on the road. Yep. You go 6-2 on the road and you're in good shape.
Yeah.
You're really, really, you're in number 1 seed shape, honestly.
So they lost both games to the Saints last year, correct?
Yeah. And they're going to lose one again.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Guaranteed.
So they'll go 5-1 in the division. And if you go 6-2 on the road, that lines up to this team probably winning 12, 13, maybe even 14 games with how weak the NFC is. I would go.
I don't know if I want to go that rich.
14. They could go 14-3. Why not? The NFC is so bad.
They play the NFC West, man. They could easily lose 2 out of those 4 games.
And those might be 2 of the only 3 games they lose all season.
I think 12-5 is good. You're always going to have a stinker game. They do play the Chiefs, but they play the Chiefs in Tampa, and they play the Rams in Tampa. But boy, the Rams throttled them last year in the regular season, then beat them again division. Yeah, I think 12-5 is the right record for this team.
Is that your favorite bet on the board?
No.
Okay. No. So now that we've gone through all 32 of these teams, which one's your favorite bet?
Ooh. Okay, I'll tell you. I really like the Saints over.
Saints over 7.5. Yep, I like that one as well.
I love that one all day. I really like the Rams. Those would be probably my top 2. It actually Rams and Bucks both. But I like the Saints a little bit more than both of those. And then we had an under that I really liked.
The Panthers.
Well, no. You've got it all in front of you. It was in the group right before this one that we're looking at right now.
We like the Broncos under.
Yes, the Broncos under. Yeah. And I'm with you on the Panthers. So I would say for me, a top 5 would be Saints, Rams, Bucks, Broncos, Panthers. The first 3 are overs. The last 2 are unders.
All right.
How about you?
Couple ones I just want to mention to you really quickly. So the Saints, again, 7.5 wins, -110 to bet the over. So basically you're betting on them to go 8-9 or better, or you could bet them to make the playoffs at +160. What do you like better?
Oh man.
Because I think they're going to make the playoffs as the 6th or 7th seed, because I think if you win 9 games, you're going to make the playoffs in the NFC.
Can I say I just like both? I like both. Well, I bet on both.
And then I really like the Ravens over 9.5 wins. I just think this team is really well coached. I think they've got talent all over the place. And once they crush this draft, which they always do, that roster is going to just be really, really solid. I think the Ravens are going to win 10, 11, maybe even 12 games.
Yeah, we had some that we moderately liked on this list. I tell you another two that we both really liked. Tennessee, we liked a lot. We also like the Raiders. So I think both of those are good ones. Pittsburgh at 7.5. Are you pretty confident about the over on that? I'm pretty confident on that one. Pretty confident.
Yeah.
Pretty. Not as much as these others.
Yeah, it just depends to me what the Steelers do in the draft. If the Steelers draft a quarterback in the first round, I'll actually be way more likely to bet on the under there. I think that one's probably a stay away for me. Although I already bet on it. So what am I talking about? I'm a liar. Right? Go bet on the over.
Yeah, Seahawks under was another one that you liked a lot. Yeah. I liked it moderately. Boy, I tell you what, because I don't have a great feel for Carolina on that under, I might be inclined to replace my fifth one with Tennessee. Okay. Actually, I probably feel better about Tennessee being over than almost any of my unders. My top two unders were the Broncos and Carolina.
I got one question for you on the Titans before we move on. So that total is at 9.5. It's minus 110 on most sports books. You can do that, or you can bet on them to make the playoffs at minus 125. What would you rather do?
On Tennessee?
Yes. Do you think they're more likely to go over 9.5 wins or more likely to make the playoffs?
I think they're more likely to go over 9.5 wins. Because I think the AFC this year can be a big jumbled mess of tiebreakers that I don't want any part of. So,
although I would somebody in that AFC South is going to win the division. So basically, I think it's a 2-team race between the Colts and the Titans. So, is there a chance that the Titans could get in the playoffs at 9-8? Potentially.
Sure. I just don't know that I want to take that chance. Now, granted, we have 7 playoff teams now, which you and I both think kind of stinks, but it does make it easier to make that bet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I still think I'm more confident with the win total than I am trying to figure out, because when you look at a win total, you're looking at what the team does in the draft, free agency, and what their schedule's like, right? And what you know about that organization. When you try to bet on the playoffs, now you're having to piece together all 16 teams in that conference. And I think that's a little bit more difficult ask. Again, though, if the odds are way different what's being predicted is way different than what you think. As always, if you think Tennessee is an absolute lock for the postseason, no matter what, then sure, bet on it. I just feel more comfortable with the win total.
All right. So give me your absolute lock for the ones that we've gone over, not necessarily an over and under, just your absolute lock.
Man, it's hard for me to narrow it to say the Saints are a lock. That's my number one. But if you're listening to this and you're like, it's still not comfortable. They have a new head coach and I don't necessarily trust Jameis Winston. That's fine. Roll a dice. 1, 2, 3, take the Rams. 4, 5, 6, take the Bucks. That's what I tell you to do. Overs.
I'm going Patriots over 8.5 wins. They're going to have a winning record with Bill Belichick. Mac Jones is going to be better in year 2. I know the AFC is tough. They're going to be fine. That's where I would go.
I've always been more mealy mouthed than you. You're always very adamant and confident in your picks, even if they're dead wrong. I tend to think about mine more, which is why I pick better than you. But it's not your fault. You know, you do the best you can. You're just one man out there. No, I get your confidence in New England. I'm just saying I'm confident in New Orleans. But if I'm listening to this podcast and I'm in my car right now and I'm thinking, really, New Orleans is your number one, even though
I agree with you. That's a good one.
So I'm saying if you don't have the same confidence I do with the Saints, I think you can have confidence with the Rams and the Bucks. Do you agree or no?
I agree with you. I'm all in on the Saints. So Saints and Patriots. Those might have to be our teams this year, Elliot. And the Chargers, of course.
Yeah, I can't believe I had so many overs because you know me, I'm always an under guy, but that's what scores. This is totally different. So we'll see how it goes. You know what I'd like to do with you is when we get the actual schedule release, go in and do wins and losses for every single team, but it has to match up. I did this at NFL Network, and the producer asked me to predict every game of the season, and I did, but I was the only one that actually took the time out of all of our analysts to go and put a loss for the other team when I predicted this team to win, right? so that all the records had to match. So, yeah, I think it's a fun exercise. It really makes you think it through. But that being said, as always, I give you the final word. What do you got?
I know it would be hard to bet on this kind of stuff before the draft, but this is when you get a lot of value, right? If you can kind of project what teams are going to do the rest of the offseason and where bettors are going to start placing bets and moving the odds, now is the time to make your favorite pick. So go bet on the Saints, go bet on the Patriots, go bet on the Chargers. This is your value. So go check out your favorite online sports book and make your favorite bet.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Well, with that, hey, if you guys haven't done so already, go check out the articles on the new overtime rules. Maybe y'all like them better than I do. I still think they should play 10 minutes, but whatever. And these odds, as always, think it through, do your research, look at the schedule, look at the free agent moves, make a smart plan, stick with it, and you'll be fine. He's at Marcus_Mosher. He's the host of Locked On Cowboys. He covers the Raiders for USA Today. I am at Harrison NFL. The music is my cue to stop talking. So I'm going to stop talking. Thank you, everybody at Brinks TV. And you guys all have a lovely, lovely day.